Dear Jack, on behalf of the admissions committee, it is my pleasure to offer you admission to the MIT class of 2010. This was a letter received by a good friend of mine, who was at the time a high school senior in Arizona. It was an incredible moment. MIT was the school that Jack had dreamt of going to since sophomore year. He'd worked hard and it had paid off. Who remembers that feeling of euphoria when you get something for which you've longed? It might have been your first job or getting into university. But this moment was soon gone. Jack's parents returned home to find the letter scrunched up and tossed onto the floor. In its place lay a second letter with that same MIT branding, except with the words Financial Aid Office written below. Dear Jack, it began, as before. But over the neatly typed writing below was a red scrawl. You're not rich enough to go here. Jack had written this. And he was right. What's worse is it happened again. Jack got into USC. He literally had the letter of acceptance in his hand. But again, they left him with a $55,000 gap, which he couldn't cover. Intimidated by the prospect of significant student debt, he eventually accepted a place at a lower-ranked university where he qualified for in-state fees. Now, I chose this story because it's a very standard one. Jack was from a middle-class family. Both his parents had paying jobs. And that's exactly the point. This isn't just a problem that affects some families. This is a problem that affects the majority. Indeed, 4 out of 10 students who get accepted to their first choice universities decline because they can't afford to go there. 4 out of 10. And we all know how expensive tuition is, but for context, for Jack's parents, whose 2 kids wanted to go to private 4-year universities, it would account for 40% of their combined salaries every year, post-tax. And it's only getting more expensive. Over the last 20 years, tuition costs have increased 100% above inflation. In that same time, median family income, 4% it's increased. 100 versus 4. So is it any wonder that student debt is now at $1.3 trillion? It's more than Russia's economy. Is it any wonder that 43 million Americans hold student loans? 43 million and nearly 10 million of them are in default. And is it any wonder that student loan payments have now surpassed groceries as the biggest monthly expenditure for many households? It's no wonder to me. Even though I come from a comfortable family, I'm part of these statistics. I took out the maximum government loan during my undergrad, and I'm now back in debt at Stanford. Is there nothing we can do? Nothing we can do to stop Jack scrunching up his admissions letter? Well, actually, $41 billion is donated every year by alumni to colleges. That's enough to cover the tuition of 4.5 million Jacks. And these donations are growing. So where's the money going? It's not going to Jack. It's not going to people that need it most. It's going to Stanford, going to Harvard, it's going to Yale, all of which already have significant endowments. Is it just me, or is that like giving welfare support to billionaires? And the problem is these donations are having less and less impact. Let me take an example. Last year, 92 universities spent $1.7 billion on recreation park projects. It's got so bad, the New York Times did an article solely on aquatic features at universities. A couple of examples from that article. 1, Louisiana State University has just finished building a lazy river that spells out LSU. The school's director of recreation, yes, they have a director of recreation at a school. When he asked the public relations for approval, do you know what they said? They said, yes, but, well, thank God for the but only if it's in our signature Veritas Go font. They also spent $3 million on a habitat for their mascot, Tiger Mike. Clemson's 38-acre lakefront property includes blobs. Yeah, I didn't know what blobs were either. So I asked. They're like floating mattresses, so that, and I quote the director of recreation, so that students can jump around like on American Ninja. Now, these are just two examples from the article, but we really don't need to look far from home. The rumors are that Stanford spends $40,000 on every palm tree. So next time you go down Palm Drive, think of every single palm tree as a student that could not afford to go to this institution. This is at best a real misuse of donations. And at worst, it's a recreation park arms race that's driving up the cost of tuition. Now, don't get me wrong, a beautiful setting can create a wonderful learning environment, but it's no use if students can't afford to go there. I'm not saying don't donate to colleges. Stanford, Clemson, LSU have all made and funded important projects. But I urge you to consider donating equally to institutions and individuals. And you can do that by creating scholarships. They have the highest marginal impact, and it's the most efficient way to support students. Your money goes straight to their tuition. And that's why I've spent the last year building goingmerry.com. We make it easy for any donor to create a scholarship of any size and give that to the perfect student who shares their interests, values, or background. Anyone can create a scholarship in less than 3 minutes' time. You can change the life of a student like Jack in less time than it takes you to order an Uber. President Obama once said that the US is not a country that guarantees equal outcomes. But we do strive to provide everyone with an equal shot. His predecessors described this as at the core of the American dream. At the moment, frankly, there isn't an equal shot. But if the donors in education stop funding ninja blobs and start donating directly to students, then there can be. And the next time a student like Jack receives an admission letter, he can accept it. Thank you.